Hello and welcome to another episode of Garden to Table with Rose, and I am Rose. So today I am doing a backyard garden tour. Finally, the first of this gardening season. I am in zone 6A, Kalamazoo, Michigan, for those of you that would like to know that kind of thing. So my last frost date was between the 1st and the 15th of May. I usually go with a later date because we have a lot of surprise freezes. It's been unseasonably cool this spring. It's rained, it's been cold. There were a couple of warm days sprinkled in there, but even today it's raining. There's rain predicted today, tomorrow, the next day. So 3 days in a row, and I just ran out here in between rain showers to try to get this video done since I can't work in the garden today. So it's taken me a while to get this backyard mostly set, mostly weeded. I mean, the weeding is never done, but it took me a while because I was working on my front yard project, which you should have seen in the last video. And so that was a solid 2 or so months of work before I could get to the back. So let me turn this camera around because it's about to start raining again. I'm standing in front of my shed, and straight ahead you see several fruit trees. This is my little backyard mini orchard, I call it. So let me just pan here, back of the house. So it's actually a ranch house. It just has a window in the basement. But there's the deck. I have a big old raised bed over there. Way in that corner by the fence over there is what I call my berry garden. Lots of berry plants there. And then this over here is my way by the fence is my main garden bed, I call it, which is where I grow most of my vegetables. Over here are grapevines behind that big compost tumbler. There are green stalks all in the middle there, and then this little bit over here is kind of a spillover. Right now, this season, I'm using it for cut flowers, corn and sunflowers. So it's kind of a flower bed. And then here's the shed. So there we are. Now, I'll start at this corner and try to do this without shaking the camera too much. I got a brush pile back there. That's not part of the tour. But okay, so over here I planted a bunch of spring bulbs, primarily tulips, and they're spent. I'm just letting the foliage die down. I'm not taking these out. The shed is just going to be multiple colors of flowers around here, and whatever extras I have, I plan to plant them over here. So these were all whites and pinks, and they were very pretty on this side. And these two tall, skinny pots are fig trees. One has some buds sprouting. The other one's not doing anything, so I hope it's not dead. I usually take those in the shed in the winter. It's only my second year with them, so hopefully something happens this year. But over here, there are more tulips, and maybe some little perennials that I threw over here as well. In these window boxes, I have placed ranunculus bulbs. So there's a ton of them in there. There's 2 window boxes on the side of the shed. There's a ton of them in there. And then this little raised bed that, by the way, I got for only $30 on clearance at Walmart, I think. This one is full of ranunculus, and I wanted to put them, or ranunculus, am I pronouncing that right? I wanted to put them in pots so that I can save these bulbs. They are a tender perennial, so I have to take them out and dry them and store them away so that I can use them again. And I really like that flower, as I said in the last video. So let's pan over here to the trees. I'm not going to go over every type of tree that's out here, but there's several. And there's apple, there's pear, there's plum, there's maybe peach. Between this and the ones in the front, it's just a combination of pears, apples, cherries, peaches, plums, persimmons, and up front, of course, I have some nut trees, a couple of almond trees, and a couple of chestnut trees, so we'll see how they do. That's the first year. This is the first year with those. All right, so let me move so this isn't too long. The ranunculus, some are coming up. That raised bed there, they are coming up. one of the window boxes are coming up. The other two I haven't seen any activity yet. But let's see. Yeah, these are all spring bulbs mostly. I just planted some annuals in here too. They're very tiny. There's a peony, little peony bush back there in that cage, and I think I have some mini roses over here too. And these grow bags, that's ginger, that I started indoors in my grow tent. I'm not sure how it's gonna do. It seems like most of the things I started, for whatever reason, didn't transplant well. And they were beautiful in the house. They were lush. I heartened them off and everything, and I don't know. Half of them, it seems, died. So, it is what it is. These black pots here had my citrus trees. All my citrus trees bit the dust. I overwintered them in the shed. But when I took them out, they just did not want to take off. So I won't be growing any citrus, not without a greenhouse, and I don't have a greenhouse. So I threw extra flower seeds. I had a bunch of packs of flower seeds, so there were flower seeds in all of those little containers sitting on the ground. This field, you can see a bunch of little shoots. There's a lot of sunflowers and corn in there. The front half is mostly cut flowers, and the back half is the corn and the sunflowers. So let me keep moving. The green stalks are full of different things. This one has herbs and flowers. One in the back has garlic that's covered. Something was eating the leaves. I think there might be a couple of bean plants in that one in the back at the top, and something was eating them. Some critter, so I had to cover that one. This one is also beans, but nothing was eating those, so these are all beans. These two back ones, green ones, are all beets and turnips, I believe. Now, a big compost tumbler here. These two pots, there's one here, and let's see, there's one way down there. Those are elderberry bushes, and they look beautiful. That's their second year in those pots. This is my little grape orchard. I got all kinds of grapes in here. It'll take too long to go over every kind. The back two rows are grapes. So I have eating grapes from Concord to red seedless, green seedless, and then I have a few, 2 or 3, I think, wine grapes. I was gonna try to make grape wine. I have not done that before, but I thought it'd be fun. So, and then the front row is all berries. So, let me go down here. See if I can zoom it in. Loganberry is very tiny. That one's a boysenberry. There's a Marionberry. And these probably are blackberries, because I read in one of my gardening books that the blackberries needed to be kept separate from the raspberries for whatever reason. So all the blackberries ended up over here. And then with the grapes, let me go over here, because some of the grapevines have many bunches of grapes on them, which I thought was pretty awesome. So I want to at least show you one of them. Oh, here we are. This one is beautiful. Let me see what this is. Somerset Seedless Grape. This one came from Start Bros, where I get most of my fruit trees. And can you see that? Those are tiny bunches of grapes, and they're all over this thing. Right there. Yeah. So I'm very excited. I should get grapes this year. So, and more grapevines. There are a couple of new ones that I put in because some didn't survive, and so I've covered those with little cages just to try to give them a good start, like these, so they don't get trampled on. All right, let's exit the grape area. And while I'm pointing at the deck, this raised bed is full of radishes and potatoes. So the radishes are all on this side, as you can see. Here's a nice big one. Tons of radishes, so pretty soon it'll be too hot for those. And then these are all potatoes. There are a couple of potato plants from the ones from seed, Clancy. So a couple of those I planted in here. And then there's Nicola is the rest. The ones from seed are in the back. They're very tiny. See them back there. But these are all the Nicola, I believe. I believe they're all the same. Yeah, they were just extra ones. Most of the potatoes I planted out in the field, the big field, but I had some extras. So these two green stalks are full of lettuces and herbs, pretty much. There might be a couple of flowers out here. St. John's wort at the top is looking luscious. Look at that. Oh man. And you know, mint, rosemary, all those things. I got some chard coming up here. Swiss chard, I believe. There may also be some root vegetables in here. I think I put some rutabagas. I think there are quite a few rutabagas in here, especially that bottom section. This one is more herbs and lettuces and Asian greens. This can be harvested. This is some kind of Asian green. I don't know where the tag went for that one, but I'm gonna stir fry it for sure, saute it. Lots of lettuces, lots of lettuce, and it looks good. And then more herbs, sage, some variegated sage. I got this pineapple sage, which I've never tried before, so I'm looking forward to that one. I've also never grown this. It's kind of a creeping thyme, which, you know, I guess a lot of people probably would use for a ground cover, but I'm going to use it to cook with. So more lettuce, and then this little globe basil, which I had not seen that form of basil either, so I was pretty pleased with that. Yeah, I need to harvest some of this lettuce too. All right, so let's walk over here to, I just call it the big field. This is where I grow most of my food, so this is the most important field. And as you can see, I have planted everything. I got everything planted, which was a lot of work. Weeded, at least tamed. There are still some, but I did pretty good with the weeding. And this year I put down preen. They have one that's organic for food, and then they have the one for flowers. I put both down in different spots to try to keep the weeds at bay. This is my favorite area and of my garden. And I think it's just because it's food. I just like the fact that these rows, for the most part, are not covered with that black tarpy stuff, which helps the weeds stay away, but I like the look of the dirt and the mulch better. That the dark mulch in the compost is, to me, a better look. I just like this bit the most. All right, so there's a few tomatoes here, just 4. One thing I really worked on this season is downsizing how much of each thing I planted, because last year I planted a bunch of stuff. I just was planting stuff like crazy. Half of it wasn't even stuff I liked or wanted, like okra. So I was conscientious about what I planted, and I placed everything just so. Last year was kind of, it got away and it was kind of stuff everywhere. So as you can see, lots of broccoli. Everything's small because it was so cold here. It was unseasonably cold, and it's just started to warm up. So this stuff is just now taking off. It just stayed very, very tiny. So there's lots of broccoli here. I interplanted flowers around a lot of this stuff. So there's a flower. You'll see flowers here and there. But basically all my winter squash are over here in this row. Winter squash. Lots of them. I'm probably going to have to thin these. I planted, 3, 4 seeds, 5 in every hole to make sure I got something. This is kind of a one-time shot for our season. So, yeah, all squash, except for this one right here. This doesn't look like a squash plant. Is this a melon? Okay, that's an orangello watermelon. It's supposed to have orange flesh, so I've never grown that. I'm looking forward to it. I think more broccoli or cauliflower. And then along this fence is the melons. These are all like either watermelon or some type of honeydew melon. I don't like cantaloupe, so I don't grow that. These are all along this path here, all the way to the front, almost to the front, is either cauliflower or broccoli or both, a mix. And of course, like I said, a few flowers thrown in. Right here is a little section of artichokes. I don't know if I'll get anything from them. I've never grown artichokes, but I grew these from seed. So there's about 6 of them there or something. And then up here are my kale. I really like kale. So this is the lacinato kale, the dinosaur kale. And they look beautiful. I thought they were going to die too. I did start these indoors and they were looking sad when I transplanted them, but they've bounced back, so I'm happy. This is all leeks with flowers thrown in. I love leeks, and they're not exactly cheap at the grocery store, so I planted almost all of them. Leeks. There's a lavender thrown in the middle there. Celeriac and celery back here. Probably more celeriac. I do like that as a root vegetable. It's very tasty. Yeah. And then over here, this whole row until you get to the front is potatoes. Sweet, or they're not sweet potatoes. They're all white potatoes. Sweet potatoes are in tubs. So yeah, all potatoes. This is the first time I've planted potatoes in the ground, so I'm interested to see if I get a different yield than I do in the grow bags. But my soil is like clay. It's clay. So I don't know. Potatoes might have a hard time pushing through that. This in the front is all onions, which I planted from sets. Little baby onions. And they look beautiful. And as you can see, other than the potatoes and the leeks, I don't have a ton of each thing. Onions store really well. And so, I mean, but there's not a ton of them. There's like a dozen or so. So I'm really just trying to scale it back to what I can eat, because it's really just me eating the stuff. We got summer squash in this little section and eggplant. My eggplants are looking sad. These were ones I transplanted. I don't know if they will make it, but they haven't quite given up. So I'm trying to give them a chance. And I can run out and buy a couple of eggplant starts if I have to, but I'm hoping these grow. I did come in and then plant seeds on top of or right next to these in case they died. That way I'd have the seeds to replace them, the little, new ones coming up. So we'll see. Summer squash. Here's most of my hot peppers are here. Again, I did not plant a ton. I don't need a ton. I pretty much don't like them too hot. I like jalapeno hot, so jalapenos, cubanos, Anaheim peppers, poblanos, that kind of thing. And I fenced them in for the bunnies in case the bunnies come, because they ate them all last year. Some marigolds in here. This is all fennel bulbs. I grew it last year, but I didn't get any bulbs to speak of. I got a bunch of tops and no bulbs, so maybe too much nitrogen. Well, I'm trying it again. I do like fennel a lot, and it's used widely in the Mediterranean cooking, which I'm doing a lot of that lately. Here's my peas. As you can see, they're not very tall, and here we are going into almost June. But like I said, it's been so cold, they just did not grow. There are a couple of cucumbers here. I'm not a big cucumber fan, but I do like one occasionally. So there's a couple. I have to thin these. I planted direct sowed those, and I usually sow extra so that I can have something. So I'm going to have to thin that out. There's a couple of cucumbers planted here. I might do a couple of pickles. And I think there's a couple of cucumbers over here as well. And that is pretty much it for the big field. So, and I think this one is about, I don't know, 50 feet deep, somewhere, something like that. Somewhere in there. I wrote it down, but I don't have that information with me. Now, the berry bed is here. I need to do a little weed whacking, but there's no weeds really around the berries, which is the important part. These totes are full of different things. I think I have mostly tomatoes in these. The tomatoes seem to really like the totes last year. I think because they stay so hot because they're black. So the roots really like that heat. So I planted most of my tomatoes. Mostly cherry tomatoes, because I don't really like big slicers too much unless I'm making sauce or something. even then I would use Romas. So I planted most of my tomatoes in the bins, particularly cherry tomatoes. This is an extra bag I had, so I threw a bunch of tomato seeds in that one. Over here, these are all raspberries. These are raspberries for the most part. There's yellow raspberries and then one called an Encore red raspberry. Herbs are interspersed in here and flowers as well throughout. So over here I got some thyme, some rosemary. These are blueberries. They're very tiny, the bushes, but they're sweetheart blueberries, pink lemonade. And these bags are the only remaining strawberries I have. All of my strawberries died. They were in the green stalk, most of them, and I think they just got too cold in that tiered system. And so these bags I had planted extras in, and they were sitting on the ground, and I think that saved them. So they were over here sitting on the ground, insulated by the snow, I guess. So I ordered more strawberries that are coming this week, but you know, it's a 2-year thing with strawberries. Now I do have a few berries on these, thank goodness. Got a handful at least, but I'm going to put all of them in these grow bags and put them over in here on the ground so that they'll hopefully survive the winter. This is my horseradish. It is glorious. Look how huge that thing is. I've had this one since I started the garden, 2 years. This is the second full year or the third year, something like that. This right here, let's see. In the back is a Blu-Ray Blueberry, and as you can see, it has, I don't know if you can see. Let's see if I can zoom. It has flowers. Yeah. Some of these blueberry bushes actually have berries on them. And then over here I have some sage and another, let's see, that's a black raspberry bush in the front. Another blueberry hiding behind that one. And then here in the front, this is Blueberry Sweetheart. So another blueberry. I got some oregano there. In the back, another blueberry, Hardy Blue. Is that Hardy Blue? Or Blu-ray, one of the two. Okay, here we have currants, white currants, pink champagne, lemon balm, some sensational lavender. The lemon balm is taking over. The lemon balm is crowding out the currant, so I keep pinching it back. But the lemon balm likes to grow here. Right here I have gooseberries, I believe these are. I'm trying to look at my list. Invicta gooseberries, I believe that's what these are. There's a black raspberry in there, which I don't know if that'll make it because it's not doing anything. Over here I have some lemon balm, mandarin lemon balm. It has more of a citrusy flavor to it. And then aronia berry there, this big bushy one. Some chamomile back there, and also a gooseberry. Invicta. Alright, here we have a blueberry plant that I just put in, and it already actually has berries on it. Let's see. You can see that. But I just put this in 2 weeks ago or so. And then I got some cosmos and some marigolds planted over here. Over here is another aronia berry and a josta berry. And you know, I misspoke. This right here is let's see if I can zoom in. That's a josta berry in that blue cage. Josta berry, which I've never had, but they seem to like to grow here. So the aronia berry is in the front, and then the josta berry. This big thing has some seeds in it for, green beans. Yard long bean. I had some planted over down that way, and something ate them. So I put them in here and covered them up with this thing. And I can put a trellis inside of this big grow bag. More blueberries coming, as you can see. Blue crop blueberry. And then here we have purple coneflower. There's lingonberries, 2 little tiny ones. And I have some more of those on order. They don't get very tall. You can see it. They only get like, see that little thing back there? They only get like 1.5 feet or something like that. Chives, which came back from last year. I was shocked. I did not know the chives would return. But I'm very happy. That parsley came back from last year. That's curly parsley. And this is a comfrey plant, which I plan to use to make some fertilizer, I believe. Compost tea. And also, it's supposed to be really good for medicinal uses of healing, I think wounds or bruises or something like that. But it's growing like gangbusters. This little corner over here is very shaded, so it likes the shade. And then here, this is full of peppers. I just threw extra seeds I had in here in case something happened to the other ones. A critter got to them. I'm trying to have little backups. This thing is parsnips that overwintered. I couldn't get them out. I came out and I think it had gotten too cold. Maybe it was frozen. So I just left them. And it seems as though some of them decided to stick around and they're still growing. So I'm going to leave them there until it's time to harvest and try them out. Like I said, these are all cherry tomatoes in these tubs. And then in the front there is probably more tomatoes. I do like the cherry tomatoes, especially the little yellow ones. That's like my favorite one. I can't think of the name of the type, but it's a yellow, tiny, kind of cocktail size. These are all sweet potatoes in these grow bags. I just decided to grow all my sweet potatoes there. These are more tomatoes, extra seeds I had. I just threw them in there. I do have one tub here of huckleberries, which I've never had before, but I'm going to try to make some jam or something or wine out of them. These, of course, are peppers. I think those are ones that I grew from myself, seedlings. So I think that is it. So hopefully this doesn't last too long. I was trying to talk fast and not go through every species so that that's planted, so that this video wouldn't get too long. That's my pile of supplies. All my dirt and stuff goes over there on top of that mulch. But yeah, so these are all, like I said, tomatoes, peppers, huckleberries, sweet potatoes in those bags, cherry tomatoes. These are all cherry tomatoes. The one that I like is called Sun Gold. Sun Gold, that's my favorite so far. No, Honey Delight. Oh gosh, I'm confused. I think it's Honey Delight or Sun Gold. One of the two. It's my favorite. I'll know it when I see it because it's very bright yellow. All right, that is it for the garden. The garden is neat. As neat as it can be for a working garden. I keep weeding. I come out and work every day, but it's not raining. So, the rain barrels are going bye-bye. That was a bust. What ended up happening, I made those and the fittings started to leak, and it's very hard to tighten them unless you actually empty it out and go back inside to tighten it, you know. So I wasn't doing all that. I just disconnected them. I plugged up my downspout, and they have water in them. They were pretty full, so I'm using the water, and then once that's used up, I'm going to get rid of those. I think the only way I'll do rain barrels is if I buy one, because trying to make my own, it just was not sturdy or efficient. So that's the end of that. And then on the deck, I'll end on the deck since it's time to go in because I'm wet, the camera's wet. I usually put herbs in these. I had some little alpine strawberries in these, and they died from the cold. So these are all herbs and some flowers. More chives. Look at the heads on those chives. I love it. They're like little grasses, little tufts of grass. And then these little things, I just planted extra flower seeds I had sitting around. I put my old fountain that was in the front back here because I got a new one for the front. And these are all herbs. Basil. There's a flower in the center there, a yellow dahlia, but these are all herbs. There's a nasturtium thrown in that one. Cilantro, parsley, lots of sage. Everything you can think of. Savory, thyme, oregano. I have a and this is my little totem pole tree. I'm excited. It took like 8 weeks for that thing to sprout those little buds, and now I planted it in dirt. It was in water, and I'll leave it outside until it gets cold, and then it's a house plant, and then I'll take it inside. But those sprouts are supposed to turn into big pretty leaves on this bark, tree looking bark, so I thought that was pretty cool. I got that one from QVC. All right, that is it for the tour, and thank you for joining me for another episode. I'll be back with another tour at some point. Next time I think I'll probably do the front again. Maybe there's some changes up there. All right, bye bye.